To order. This is the Helena Citizens Council meeting, July 21st, 6 p.m. Alex, will you please take roll?
John Andrew. Diana Hammer.
Here.
Lori Fitzgerald.
Here.
Patricia Bick and Joe Lehman are both excused this evening. Nancy Perry. Here. Ann Houserath.
Here.
Sonda Goff.
Here.
Jeff Brown. Paige Myers and Emily Bowers are both excused this evening, as well as Bob Schlock. Janet Zimmerman. Chase Eaton.
Here.
Ben Kuiper.
Here.
Katie Ryan.
Here.
Ryan Schwager is excused this evening. Sam Brown.
Excuse me.
Dylan Klettmeyer. Bob Haybeck.
Here.
Denise Roth Barber. And Susan Stephens. We have 10, 12 reform.
20 so.
Tuesday.
Hold tight, please.
Oh, I have Denise Roth Barber online. We have 11.
Well, it should be formed then, right?
We have 12 for recording.
You added to our numbers.
We'll plan to use until 7:05.
He's just 95. Yeah. Heard of him, but never met him. So that will be awesome to meet you. He would like to.
Just the grades.
I've been see him walking around downtown. Black dog. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. No, he's.
Oh,
I can't believe he was, you know, he was
Zero percentile.
Yes. And,
He's a
very, been in some things where he's very busy, but very passionate. This is, yesterday with,
We'll be sitting there.
and he was a blind advocate for walkability. And I thought that,
Can
you imagine on the sidewalk? well, this is what he ran half marathon. That's how I heard about it. He runs with a dog, but he said it wasn't running half marathon. Well, it's just that the sidewalk was so much.
It is.
And so he's right.
Never the same.
Or I have to do the next meeting. And breaking. Prevention. And, you know, sees people. There's a life. He's like, gone.
Yeah. No, it's like my board meetings, we're always just like waiting for that last one. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna email you guys back tomorrow, we'll get some on the.
He's just super on there. Just really excited for how.
Good. That was there something.
But.
All right, 7:05, I'll call this meeting back to order. Deputy Clerk, do we have a quorum? All right, at this time, is there any public comment on anything not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on. You should have received the minutes for the June 25th meeting. Those were sent out electronically and you should have them in your packets. At this time, I'll entertain any changes. And how's Raph?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a correction to the motion, which is 1.41.32, which is a couple pages in, to fully explain what I explained at the meeting. And what I would like the correction to read is the purpose of the ad hoc transportation committee is to review chapter 7, transportation of Helena Ford, the land use plan, to see if the constituent concerns expressed at the HCC open houses in September 2024 and March 2025 are addressed in the draft land use plan. So that is my correction. I said this at the meeting, but it isn't reflected in the minutes. So in some sense, your motion is quoted here. Do you accept the corrections? And we'd like to see them.
There's a motion on the floor to amend the minutes by Ann Houserath. Is there a second?
Second.
Been seconded. I understand this has been sent in writing to the clerk. And it will be reflected in the minutes if approved. All those in favor? Opposed? Right, motion passes. Any further amendments to the minutes? There are none. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Chase Eaton, seconded by Ann Houserath. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, at this time, we'll move into presentations, and we have Kelly Asham with the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, guys. And I have a short slideshow, but interrupt me at any point. And I'm happy to answer questions. But my name is Callie Asham, and I'm the president and CEO of the Helena Area Chamber of Commerce. And we have made a lot of changes over the last 3 years. And so I have been getting out and chatting with folks, and I thought this would be such a great group because you guys have so much engagement with our citizens. And one of the things that we're really passionate about at the Chamber is getting people engaged and involved, particularly in their city government, because it's so important that as we look into future planning, we're planning for 20 years ahead, not 20 years ago. And so we really want to make sure that we're talking to folks about what we're doing and helping in any way we can to help with, if you guys have anything you want to move forward, but we're really about trying to get Helena going. So next slide, Alex, if I could, just a quick overview of our mission and vision. Our mission, and we didn't actually have a formalized mission and vision until 2019. And so these are pretty new, but pre-COVID. So we've seen a little bit of change in our community, but our mission is to engage and support businesses to facilitate economic growth and community prosperity. And our vision is to be a catalyst for growth, a convener of leaders and influencers, and a champion for a thriving community. And the biggest piece of that for me is the champion for a thriving community. We're a membership-driven organization. That's how we make our money. You have to be a member of the Chamber of Commerce. But when I came onto the Chamber back in 2022, one of the first things we did is that you don't have to be a member to be important in our community or to be a part of our community. And so we really try to represent all of the businesses in our community. If you want to be a member of the Chamber, that's awesome. And that helps pay me every day, helps pay my staff, helps move our mission. But what we want is for a high tide where all boats rise. And so we really want a successful Helena. And the only way we can do that is to make sure we're being really inclusive. Next slide, please. So at the beginning of this year, we came up with our new initiative, which is called Find Your Way. And really what happened is I was really frustrated after a city admin meeting. And I thought there just has to be a way. Like we have to be able to start finding a way to get some things done in this community. And so Find Your Way was really created about removing barriers, finding a way to really start moving the needle in Helena and help people find the resources that they need to thrive. And so what we did is we created a year-long series of programs and events, and we really centered it around connecting, growing, and succeeding. And with that, next slide, please, we came up with some community pillars. And this is the first time the board has really focused on things in our community where we really wanted to start moving the dial. And the first was city advocacy. So one of the things that we have been working on this year and will continue to work on and hopefully have it completed by November is an ombudsman position. And so the ombudsman position would be someone who would help, particularly with our developing partners, to help with permitting, to really work as a liaison between the business community and the city, because we get a lot of complaints about the processes and procedures of the city. And sometimes I was raised in the hospitality world and I worked for a very corporate hotel. So I always say I'm a robot and I love policies and procedures. That's what feeds me. And I understand that there's need for that. But a lot of times what our developers find is that it is easier to do business in other communities. And as the Chamber of Commerce, that's a hard thing to hear. And so as city advocacy, we really want to start helping partners so that we can help understand those policies and procedures, hopefully get those folks back at the table instead of just walking away and throwing their hands up, because a lot of times we think it's just misunderstanding, and hopefully we can bridge that gap. The other piece that we're super passionate about and super involved in right now is school funding and success. We are helping run the school bonds campaign and are always happy to chat with you about that and with other organizations. And so if you have any questions about the school bonds campaign, I'd love to chat with you about it. We're hosting weekly tours at the school. So we are at Kessler next week on the 29th, and then we'll start in August at Capitol and then back at Helena High with small presentations. But the biggest piece is really to get people in those schools and start seeing, some of the challenges that we're facing. We're also hosting happy hours at the breweries around town to talk about the bonds. So I'll either feed you at noon on Tuesday or I'll buy you a beer, whatever works for you. But come visit with us. We'd love to talk to you about it. Childcare crisis is a huge workforce issue in Helena, and so we're really trying to help get involved in that. And really this becomes being that convener. We know we can't solve these problems, but we want to get the right people to the right table at the right time. We see a lot in Helena in particular, Lewis and Clark County as a broader spectrum, but Helena in particular, a lot of folks are returning to the workforce because they can't afford childcare or they can't find it. And so we have a lot of people who are staffed up and then folks leave for maternity leave or paternity leave and then they can't come back to work. And so we're really starting to see that affect a lot of our partners. And then our final pillar, and this one's my favorite, I love the school funding one, but kind community. We had a lot of incidents in our community over the last 18 months where people didn't feel welcome and they didn't feel comfortable or safe because of things that were said to them out in public. And so we've worked really hard. We have a couple of really fun initiatives going in the high schools and at the colleges, but talking about being inclusive, being a friendly and inclusive community and really welcoming those folks that come to our community. Next slide, please. At the end of the day, and I hate swearing in the city building, but really chambers need to be kick-ass problem solvers. And what happens is our communities are changing so quickly, especially post-COVID. And so for us, it's really about pivoting and realizing that maybe we can't solve it all, but we want to be at the table trying to be a problem solver. Just a quick rundown about my staff. We are small but mighty. You can go to the next slide. We're not on that slide. This is us. We are small but mighty. We're actually going to be posting a couple of positions. We'll be looking for a program manager here after the school bonds finish. But Katie Nichols is my director of events and brand strategy. She's wonderful. She's worked with Anne before. We helped design the Love Letters to Helena boards. So Katie does all of that for us. She's a super artistic person. And then Taylor Nikovich is our office manager. So if you're paying our bills, you're probably talking to Taylor. And she's awesome. And she also works in our visitor center. Next slide, please. We try to do a lot of connection opportunities. We're getting people together all the time. We're out in East Helena as well. We are an area chamber of commerce. So we have members in North Jefferson County as well as out in East Helena. And so we go out to East Helena once a month just to talk about what's happening out there. We know East Helena, based on our land use plan, East Helena is looking to be probably our growth center in the next 20 years. And so we want to make sure that we have a good bridge between our community and theirs. And so we're out there. Connections on Cruise is hosted in connection with the BID, so the Downtown Business Improvement District. We meet once a month. We do Deep Rose Dialogues. That's our emerging professionals group. So we do have a young professionals group that meets monthly. And then we have tons of other chamber events. Next slide, please, and then I'll fly through these. So we also, we get state bed tax money. So we do a lot of the marketing for Helena. Next slide. But we also really work closely with our partners. So we meet weekly with the city of Helena, the city of East Helena, the BID, and MBAC, which is our economic development partners. And so we meet weekly to talk about the challenges organizations are facing, who we hear about. So, I mean, we all have different members, we all have different missions, but we all have the same goal, which is we want to see Helena succeed. So it's really fun to get together with everyone and talk about what's going on and try to support each other as much as we can. Next slide, please. We run 4 programs. This also helps with our financial piece. So like I said, we're membership funded. So 60% of our entire budget comes from our membership. And then another 20% comes from our programming. So Leadership Helena is our leaders program. It's a 10-month cohort. You apply to be included, and then we go through a retreat, and then it's 10 months of intensive leadership training once a month. Helena Wins is our workforce development program. We work with K through 12, and it's all about career exposure. So we just finished up. We always go with the school year. Our last day is construction days, where we turn 600 eighth graders loose at Helena College. We let them play on equipment. They get to do demonstrations. It's a really fun day. They can find a horn on anything. I can guarantee that. Helena Leaders Network is our emerging professionals group. Those folks are people who are new to the area, new to their career. Maybe they've changed careers. They get together monthly. And then Invest in Helena will start in February this year, and we're really excited about it. It's going to be really focused on entrepreneurs. So we're going to talk to folks about business plans. And it's going to be 2 tracks. So you'll be able to go through the Invest in Helena program, but you'll also be able to apply for the Accelerate program, which then is an intensive program to help people actually open those businesses. And we have seed money for people to help. If they match the seed money and they go through the program, they'll get their money back. So we're really excited about that one. And we'll have a big pitch night where the community can come and hear about what's going on. We have some fun events coming up. The first is Speed Date Your Candidates, and I hope that you guys can all join us on August 7th. This is in conjunction with the League of Women Voters. Probably the most important thing to me when I took over the chamber was that we were a nonpartisan organization. We do not slide either direction. We are political, and we will get involved if it's what's best for the community, but we are nonpartisan. So we partnered with these guys to talk about getting all of the candidates together. They're going to move from table to table. You'll be able to ask them questions. It's going to be a really fun night. Like I mentioned, we're doing brown bags and bonds in July and August. You can come tour the schools, and then we give away awards every year to Business of the Year, Business Person, Nonprofit of the Year, and Entrepreneur of the Year. And that will be at our AM honors on September 5th. And I think that's all I have, but just wanted to give you guys kind of the lowdown about what the chamber is up to. We love what your organization is doing, and we love partnering with people. We don't want to duplicate efforts. So if there's something you guys are doing and you need a little help or you need a little support, please reach out. We want to make sure that we're engaging people in all the right ways, and I can answer any questions.
Right,
You rent the speed, your candidate on the 7th, where is that gonna be?
It is going to be at the Great Northern Hotel.
Okay.
And right now we are ready for about 100 people, but we'll take 200.
Okay, and
Yeah.
what time is that?
It's going to be from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. Yeah. And if you go on our website, helenachamber.com, all of our events are there too.
Any further questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
It was the Invest in Helena, is that an outgrowth of what CW G Architects did
Yeah.
a couple of years ago?
So it was started by a grassroots group.
Yeah.
And then they kind of wanted to step away. And so they approached the chamber about taking that. And so
Okay.
we took that on, and it's so fun.
That's wonderful, because it seemed like it had a lot of potential.
It did. It had a lot of momentum. And then we had a couple of setbacks, and then we kind of got redundant, I'd say. Like our 3rd year, we were kind of just running the same things. And I don't think we were digging deep enough. So this next year, we're really going to dig in and hopefully help some folks talk about transitioning businesses in an aging community. That's really important. We don't want to lose the businesses that we have. And so making sure, I think I always use Sandy Scholl as an example at Birds and Beasley's, but that business transition was wonderful because we didn't lose that store, even though Sandy wanted to retire. And so I think trying to get more of those examples in the community would be awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
What has the city's reaction been to the city advocacy work that you're doing? How are you working with the city on that?
Super supportive. I worked really hard to have a good relationship with the city. It took a long time, if I'm being honest, but the chamber we hadn't had a great relationship with the city. And so it was a little bit of rebuilding trust there, I think, too. They've been pretty supportive of the ombudsman position. We haven't hired that position yet. So, our goal is not to be adversarial in that, but to hopefully be supportive and hopefully get some things done. You know, we don't want, I don't want to fight with folks, but we want to see progress. And I think sometimes accountability helps with that. And so our goal is that this position will hold things a little accountable, both on the business side, because I don't, you know, it's easy to sit, you know, in any place, you know, and point up the hill and say that the city's not doing what they're supposed to do. But I also think we have to look in the mirror and figure out how we all work together to get that done. And my hope is that this position will really serve as that mediator, saving time on the city side and on the developer side.
Mhm. You know, I guess if I can just have an editorial comment, I feel like, I'm just speaking for me as an HCC rep, but I feel like we've been in a similar position with the city, and it has felt at times quite adversarial when we have the same goal to help Helena succeed and to represent the people in our districts. And so I guess I'd be curious if you have any thoughts on how HCC might get more of a conciliatory or welcoming attitude, and like involving the public, involving us as public representatives in the city business.
For me, I think it's that engagement piece. And I think what's really cool about what is happening in Helena right now is that people really want to be engaged. I would say this is the most over the last, and it feels like a recent change in the conversations that I'm having, but it really is. I think people want to know what's going on, and I think they want to feel involved. And I think especially in all of your positions, getting those folks at the table, whatever that looks like, you know, and getting all of those opinions so that as a group, I'm a big data person. And so that's what I loved about the love letters, is that we could really take that and data point that and say, here are the things that are really concerning people. It's not just Callie Asham banging on your door saying, listen to me, I'm telling you this is miserable, or because sometimes it feels negative, right? Like we don't always come when we support something, we usually show up when we're against it. And I think it's getting people to the table when they support it and when they're against it, because I think that brings a little bit of sway.
I think our problem has been not so much getting the public in support or finding out what they want, because I certainly hear from people who care about issues.
Which is
It's
great.
having a receptive city hearing what we're bringing to them.
Well, and I think that in my experience, it's been consistency. And so I think we have to keep showing up. And I think sometimes what I have seen is like we get this big crescendo of like either we're mad or we're glad. I mean, there's never anything in between, right? And then it dies. And I don't think we ever follow back up and say, hey, where were we when we were really mad? Did you guys ever do anything about that? Because I see a lot of kicking the can, you know, like where instead of making a decision, it's easier to push it. And we need to start making decisions, because where we're at as a community, right on this pivotal time of where we could really have some great sustainable growth, which would increase our services and make us more livable and really, you know, increase that livability and help attract more folks here and the right kind of folks. You know, we really want people who believe in Helena. And I think that's the people we're attracting right now. And so, but we can't keep kicking the can. And so I think it's that consistency and then that accountability. I mean, I think as a group and as citizens and as organizations that can support each other, I think we have to show up for each other. And that's really what this group that meets weekly is about, is like, we can kick each other in the teeth in that room and scream and shout, and we don't have to agree in that room. But when you are out in the real world, we support each other 100%.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. And thank you for the work that you're doing. I know it's time consuming, but it's 7 on a Wednesday night. So appreciate everything you guys are doing too.
Yes. Who do you meet weekly with?
I meet weekly with, we have reps from our Visit Helena group. So our Tourism Business Improvement District, the Downtown Business Improvement District, our Economic Development Partners, and back. There's a rep from the city. It was Jake Garson, but he has moved on. And then one of the city councilmen from East Helena come as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we just talk about the challenges that everybody's facing. If there's something we can all do to each other, for each other. We're working on a wayfinding project right now as a group. So we are putting out an RFP to improve all the signage throughout town. We have Montana's Museum at the Montana Historical Society opening up in December. And so it will be really important. We're expecting about 75,000 additional visitors each year to that museum. So we want to make sure we get our signage, and we're working on some welcomes to Helena signs and that sort of thing together. So we try to partner where we can too.
Further questions?
Mr. Yeah, I just want to underscore how much fun it was working with Callie and Katie. They really, we couldn't have done the Love Letters program without them. And it was easy, it was fun, and I think it's good for all of us and it's good for the city.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see more partnerships like this.
There are great things happening. We have a lot of interest in development. We have a lot of interest in folks moving here and in business. And I just think what an incredible time, and how lucky are we that we get this opportunity to live in Helena right now. So thank you for having me too.
I had a question. real
Yeah, of
quick.
course.
So you mentioned one of the projects you're working on is accessible childcare, or available childcare
Yeah.
at that point. And I'm intrigued by that because I know that a lot of the new or prospective parents in the workforce may have to leave the state
Mhm.
altogether just because that's not available for them. And I think it is contributing to our aging workforce and population. Can you like briefly go over the stakeholders and the decision makers you're working with in that area?
So we've partnered with 0 to 5, and Helena was able to get a work or a childcare grant, and so we're on that cohort, and it's us. St. Pete sits on there. Pretty much all of the childcare partners in town. It was like Childcare Connections, but that was dissolved with some of the stuff that happened at the state. So there's a few other organizations, and Westmont being one of them. But it's really talking about like the grant can go towards a feasibility study to really see where your needs are. So whether it's facilities, if we don't have enough facilities, we don't have enough workers, and then really doing a strategic plan based around helping fix some of those issues. So we're looking at the feasibility study that we're looking at right now is like, do we need to find a facility that we could do like a co-op in, for example? Missoula pre-COVID had a really successful business co-op where people were buying seats and then they were able to run the childcare that way. And so that's an opportunity. I think St. Pete's has done a great job with Pete's Place, but where they're having challenges is they don't have enough teachers for the ratios based on the state. And so I think there's a little bit of work being done at the legislative level. We did get the child care tax credit back this year. So I think that there are some things to be done, but yeah, it's such a crazy knot of a problem that you're like slowly unwinding. And so it's just like taking little bites. And so right now we're really looking at this feasibility study to see where are the gaps in Helena, and then we'll have to start looking at funding because a lot of it comes down to there's no money. How do we fill those gaps? Yeah, so it's in the infant stages. We just started the cohort about 2 months ago. So we've had, I think, 2 meetings to really start looking at some of this feasibility and starting to talk about it. But it's the long game, and unfortunately for a community like Helena, we don't have a lot of time. So we gotta move quick.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any further questions? Do we have any on Zoom?
No hands raised.
Nothing.
I'm sorry, why don't we have a lot of time? What do you mean by that?
I think it's that we have a lot of young folks that would
Oh,
love
just
to
the-
have
I'm
families.
sorry.
Yeah.
On the child
And
care.
it's
Oh.
just starting to impact the workforce pretty dramatically. And so we want to make sure that we're trying to at least, stop the bleeding before,
Okay.
we are,
I
oh
thought
God,
you were
no.
thinking
And I
just
wasn't
in
trying to be
favor.
dramatic about it. It's just we have a lot of young folks and we need kiddos. So gotta get them somewhere to go to daycare.
All right.
Thank
Anything
you
else?
guys for having me. I'll leave you to your meeting, but just appreciate all the work and thank you
Well, thank
for
you so
that.
much. for
Yeah.
coming to talk to us.
Have a good night, you guys.
All right, at this point, we'll move into officer reports, and I will start as chair. So last meeting, we took a look at a recommendation regarding the tunnel. And the city manager determined that, in his opinion, that was too far in the scope of operations, and he did not agree to put it on the agenda. I had a conversation with the mayor and the city manager last week, and we agreed to all come to the table, that being the HCC, the commission, the city manager, possibly the city attorney's office and the local government center, and just talk it out. They're looking for us to define our role in the charter when it comes to making recommendations to the commission. The commission, according to my understanding, I don't speak for the commission, but they they seem to be uncomfortable with the specificity of some of the recommendations that we offer because they feel that it aligns too much with the city manager's directive of operations. And I just want to get everyone in the same room to talk about it. It's going to be moderated, hopefully, and that is in the works. I don't have a date or specifics for you other than that. So I just wanted you all to be aware that that's coming hopefully soon. And
Does the city pay the local government, this local government center or whatever it is?
I am not aware of how they're funded. I'm sorry.
Because
MSU.
They're a branch of
because if the
MSU.
city's paying, I guess I would ask, aren't we adults? Couldn't we talk about this without paying them to come in, at least for the first conversation? Because I didn't vote for the measure, but I think it's a wonderful idea to talk about it, and I'm concerned that our recommendations aren't getting to the commission. But anyway, I'm just raising the issue that if it costs money, I would be in favor of giving this a try without bringing in an outside entity that's being paid.
Okay, and just to clarify, we did send that recommendation to the commission. They got it. It's just not getting on an agenda as of now. So anything else on that? Okay, once I have further details, we'll distribute them to the members. That is all I have for tonight. So Vice Chair report. Okay. Treasurer?
Treasurer. Alice, can you put up the budget that you sent me? I don't know if that's. So we do have a budget for 26 that we've just received, and it kind of outlines all of the things that we can use and affect. So I think it's a little more straightforward than maybe previous versions of this budget that we've seen. With certain amounts of money used for outreach for each district, our 2 open houses that we wanted, food and beverage, like brochures, yard signs, any changes we need, like to our brochure, and then water bill inserts if we do them. And if we want to have a block party, there's the insurance cost for that, and then incidentals for office supplies. So $2,340 for our budget for 26. Comments or questions on that?
Have you done anything officially for a block party?
No,
That's just a consideration.
no, we've not. We kind of have talked about it in District 1, but
Does that be something that would go to the outreach committee then?
yeah, I don't know who would take that on.
I mean, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Just curious.
Can bring it up in our next meeting.
And I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, Lori, do you know whether the $250 for insurance, does that also include a permit? I mean, is that the total cost for a block party? I don't expect you to have an answer, but it's if it's in our budget, I'd like to know whether there's an additional cost from the city or whether that's the total cost.
I feel like just being able to have it, we needed to have that insurance, but there wasn't other permitting. That was my understanding, but I could have it wrong.
Anyway, I don't expect you to have an answer, but it's something I'd like to find out from the city.
Can I add something?
Yeah, Diane Hammer.
Okay, so when we've been talking about the block party in District 1, we've been talking about this a little bit, and Pat Beck has done a little bit of research. There is a fee, I want to say it's like $25 or $35 from the city to just close off the street and do that sort of thing. But our estimates for the additional insurance that the city is currently requiring is way more than that.
Oh, it is.
It was at least 250, but as high as 500. So 210. That was at least a year ago that we got that quote.
All right, any further questions for Treasurer? Nancy Perry?
When I was working with the budget, it broke out expenses that we were paying for, like, telephone, the post office. And there was one for duplicating or Xeroxing. Is that still in the budget?
I think that
Specifically
still
the
happens,
Xeroxing.
but those were things like we had no control over and they were
Right,
just
I'm
kind of
just
like.
wondering, are
fine.
they still there? Do you know, are we still paying for those things?
We being the HCC.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's just part of our operations and it's, that was always.
Well, there must
It-
be, I mean, look at these.
Yeah, I mean, Alex, maybe you can answer. I mean, it seems like that was in there before and it's just kind of. This is more breaking down things that we can affect, use or not use, and that stuff was just a standard. This is what it costs to duplicate and have office supplies and stuff and that.
Right. Do you have a way of finding out if they were still taking that out from us? And if so, would you see what they're taking out for the Xeroxing?
For making duplicates.
Making duplications of something. I thought that was there and I had asked for duplicating and I was told that, oh, we're not paying for that. And I said, oh, I'm sure we are, but
For HCC material?
yes, that HCC wanted to copy a flyer.
Further questions for the treasurer? Are there any online?
So no hands raised on.
I'll try to clarify those things for
Thank you.
next week.
Super, thank you.
Good questions.
Is that it?
That's all I have.
Secretary?
Well, I will give the outreach, a little bit of outreach update and, please, if you were able to meet, did the outreach committee meet? No, okay, I didn't think we did. I couldn't make it, neither could Emily and neither could Susan, so I didn't think we'd have much good turnout and asked to reschedule, but I can give an update on the yard signs. They are, which we're gonna talk about a little bit later. They've been ordered, the artwork has been reworked, and we budgeted for them in last year's budget, and I see there's an additional bit of money here. So I think we had enough in last year's budget that we approved to cover it, but it'd be nice to have additional funding if we needed a few more. And once the artwork is done, they'll have it all there and it'll be easy to produce a few more signs. That's it.
Okay, and we'll go into the yard sign in more detail later. Any other reports?
No.
Okay, any questions for secretary? Okay. With that, we will move on from officer reports. So we now have the coordinator's report.
I spoke with the executive committee about this last week when they met, and I'm wondering if maybe the quorum issue might be abated a little bit if we change the meeting time from 7 to 5:30. 7 is just kind of the traditional time that it's always been, and I think it might be hard for people to go all the way home. And then, I mean, you get there, you've eaten, and you're like, I don't want to go back, So it might be worth a try to see how 5:30 works. We don't have to make a decision right now. In fact, we're not going to. I'm going to send out a poll via email so that everyone can kind of give their thoughts and opinions, and we'll come back to that after the next meeting.
And just a quick note, if I may, on that, our meeting time is set in our bylaws. So if we did want to change it, we would have to change our bylaws. If that's what the group wants to do, it should be a pretty easy fix. So I think just polling the current members would be a great idea, especially because the last two meetings, I understand it is summer, but we were very close to not having quorum the last two meetings. So whatever you all feel is best, go ahead and report that at the poll.
Are we also looking at changing the date of the meeting or the fourth Wednesday of the month? Or is that staying static?
It was just my intention to change the time, and the answer may be no. So we'll see what comes of that.
Just out of curiosity, are you still the interim coordinator or are you the official coordinator now?
I'm the interim still. My next topic that I just wanted to bring up briefly is that you're still looking for folks to attend the not the HCC, the commission meetings and the administrative meetings for the city. I don't have anybody for the foreseeable future. So if you would like to be the representative for July, August through December, please let me know. Because like I said, we are like, I see Denise's hand was raised.
Denise, go ahead.
Hi, I guess I was just curious where the time change was coming from. It seems like that would be something that the members should bring up if it's a concern.
We talked a little bit about it at the executive board meeting. It was a concern with the not being close to not meeting quorum in the last two meetings. Like I said, I understand it's summer and people are busy, but if the time is contributing to that, I'd like to know. I figured it wouldn't be harmful to pull the members.
That's all I got.
Any questions for the deputy clerk?
That does coincide with the admin meeting, no, right?
Yeah, there is a possibility that they could conflict.
Uh-huh.
And that may be historically why that we meet at 7. There also could be a whole bunch of different reasons we meet at 7. But yeah, every once in a while, usually when there's a holiday, it changes the commission's weekly rotation.
Mhm.
So that could conflict if we end up changing our night. So that's something to consider. And House Rock.
Sure. I don't know how we address this, but I just throw it out there. I really like to attend the commission meetings. I'm particularly interested in transportation. And if there were any way of us knowing their agendas ahead of time, then, because I'm not particularly interested in just saying, well, I'm going to pick that date and not knowing what they're going to be talking about. Because what I really want to do is I want to hear about transportation. So I don't know whether there's a solution to this, but that would be my interest if we could do it.
What's the typical posting
So
days?
So the city typically posts a week in advance, the agendas for all meetings. It does occasionally happen that it's 6 days or 5 days, just depending on, life. But, yeah, typically we know a week in advance.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
There might be, however, like for instance, maybe a date is already picked for the discussion of the land use plan, for instance. I think it would be really helpful if there are dates out there, because I imagine maybe that one's been picked and there are other things. It would be helpful to me at least to know when those are.
Okay. Do you know where to find the agendas on the city website?
Yeah, but I don't know, they don't post when in September, or October, they're gonna be voting on the land use plan, do they? Do they post that ahead of time?
Well, we don't know until the agenda comes out.
But somebody does, I think. All right, so anyway, I mean, in other cities, at least, sometimes it's known that there will be a public hearing on X 2 months from now. And if that's true here, it would be nice if we knew any of those dates.
I don't think the calendar is that extensive. But it is recorded within the commission meetings when like the budget's going to be voted on. And those things. Correct?
I mean, maybe I'm the only one, but I will go to any meeting that's a transportation, but I'd like to be directing my time.
So Anna, I don't really know the answer to
Yeah.
your question, but if you, like Vice Chair was saying, sometimes, more set dates are announced ahead of time. And if you are at a commission meeting and say they do identify a date when they're going to be talking about something specific, if you could forward that to the coordinator, and then they can take that into consideration when we do our scheduling.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, anything else?
Me?
Any further questions? Okay, we'll move on. Now we'll move into the outreach committee report, so we'll hand it over to secretary.
Well, we designed a yard sign. I guess I gave enough of the report, but we designed a yard sign. Got it approved by the HCC back in March. But we've been working on this for a long time. And they designed this, and then we just learned at the executive committee meeting last week that we need to use the city's branded colors to put these ones. So, or no.
Landscape.
Well, this was just the way the PDF printed, the yard sign would have been printed this way. That's just an artifact of it being a PDF. Anyway, so, we've been told that because we're part of the city, we have to follow the city's branding, which is news to us. We have never been told that before, but, I don't know what y'all think about this, but if it's,
Diana,
yeah,
Diana, I can't quite hear what you're saying, that the city has asked us to use what?
it's branding. The city has a color palette and I suppose fonts and other things that it uses, and one of which is this particular shade of blue and this brown color. I don't know, brownish color. So we're being asked, no, we're being told, this is what we need to do if we're gonna make our city.
There are other colors, though. There are other colors. You don't.
There are
Um,
other-
Can I ask a question about that?
Hold on. Is that the end of your summary?
Yeah, I had to leave the meeting early, so if there's more discussion by others on the executive committee who can shed light on this,
We adjourned like 15 seconds after you
oh,
left.
you did, okay. I didn't realize there were other colors.
Okay, so go ahead, Denise.
I guess I'm not clear about this. I believe that we serve at the pleasure of our voters. We do not serve at the pleasure of the city commission or the pleasure of the city staff. We are an independent advisory council. So I guess to me, this feels like yet another attempt by the city to control us in a way that I don't believe they are entitled to. So we are an independent body. I mean, we set our own bylaws, unlike all of the other advisory boards. We set our own bylaws. We get elected by citizens. And I feel this is petty, and I'm not sure that I'm gonna die on a hill about whether or not we use that design per se, but what bothers me is like the principle of the matter here. And I continue to speak out about wanting the HCC to push back against the city's attempts to control us in large and small ways. And to me, this is a small way, but I think it would be an opportune moment for us to remind the city, both the staff and the commission, that we do not serve at their pleasure. We serve at the pleasure of our voters, just like the city commission does. So I'm just raising a little flag about this.
Well, Denise, this is Diana. I could not agree with you more, and if you went into a little more detail, but almost verbatim, the very question I asked when this was raised at the executive committee. And we were told by Alex as the interim coordinator that we have to do this. And I don't know, I don't like it. I don't like the color. And if there's other colors, but I do agree. It seems petty. It seems like overreach. We've never done this. And why does the city care what the HCC does as an independent publicly elected body? So I completely agree with you, Denise.
Yeah, I mean, the city staff have told us a lot of things that they've been wrong about. So again, I feel like we should push back against this and say, we're sorry, this is overreach. And go back to your corner and we'll go back to ours.
Further comments or questions? if there are,
That's a good question.
Nancy Perry.
So we have it in this blue and brown. If that is the palette they want us to use, I wonder if they could let us pick the colors and pairing them off of that palette, because we might be able to come up with one that's more attractive than this. I actually like the lettering because I'm always thinking from a distance, how much of this can you read? And our one that we've always had is so good looking, but you got to be awfully close to read a lot of the stuff on it. But if we would say, yeah, the lettering is fine, but we really are not crazy about this color combo, and you had all these ones to pick from, how about letting us be the ones to pick the two colors that we're going to use? And your format is fine and your font is fine, but we're not real crazy about brown and blue. Is that possible? Yes.
So what we're looking for here is a vote to send whatever design and color scheme we want to. We can pick from those colors, if my understanding that correctly. If we do want to get into the weeds about this, we're gonna keep it in an organized manner. If that's something somebody would want to discuss or make a motion about, that would be appropriate. We can also continue to discuss in general. So, Vice Chair.
I think if we change the brown to the amber, the fourth one under the 4, I think would look very nice.
This one up here.
Yeah, amber. It's right underneath 49 M, 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right.
John Andrew.
I think just send it back to the outreach committee, let them make that decision for us and we'll vote on it. But I think Denise and Diana are right that, you know, that should be something that we have control over, and so.
Okay, a logistical question from me. If we were to delay this to the next outreach committee meeting, would that have any issue with the vendor?
Yeah, they're fine.
Okay. And I was right.
Do we need a motion to send it to the, back to the outreach?
That would be appropriate at this time.
Okay, I would move that we send it back to the outreach committee, allow the outreach committee to choose the colors using the font and everything else. And then that this motion would include that they can then contact the vendor and get started on the signs.
Okay, so your intention with this motion is to send it back to the outreach committee where they will decide the palette and then send it on to the vendor.
And move
without-
forward.
Okay. Is
I
there,
second.
I agree.
okay, there was a motion by House Rath, seconded by Roth Barber to send the design back to the outreach committee where they'll make a decision and forward it to the vendor. Any discussion on the motion?
Should we in some way convey to the city that they need to step back?
Not in this motion, no. All right, any further discussion? Okay, do a roll call vote on this.
John Andrew,
Aye.
Diana Hammer,
Aye.
Lori Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Nancy Perry,
Aye.
Ann Houserath,
Yes.
Sandra Cobb,
Yes.
Jeff Brown.
Aye.
Janet Zimmerman, Chase Eaton.
Aye.
Ben Kuiper.
Aye.
Katie Ryan,
Aye.
Bob Haybeck.
Aye.
Denise Rothbarber,
Aye.
Susan Steffens.
Aye.
Motion passes 12-0.
All right.
Okay.
All right, at this point, we will move into the commission and board meeting attendee reports. If you did send these in writing, just go ahead and summarize them. If not, we'll move through these hopefully in a timely fashion. So we do not have Ryan Schroeder on, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, so we will move into July 7th, Nancy Perry.
Yeah, this is very embarrassing. I wrote you a great long report and I don't remember what it said.
Okay, alright. Would you be able to send that and we can distribute it?
I'm sorry.
Would you be able to send that to the interim coordinator and she can distribute that?
Oh, I think I did. I
Okay.
gave it to Alex.
Alright, perfect.
Yeah.
July 16th, Katie Ryan, and you can do the 21st as well.
July 16th, actually, I didn't speak to them that day. I think you said something to them that day. And they just had one issue. I didn't copy what it was, but it was basically the city updating their, pay policies and their leave policies and that sort of thing. And that was presented, and they said in the next meeting they would, pass it.
Yeah, and at that meeting, I addressed the commission regarding the public feedback that was gathered by the outreach committee at the Art Walk. And Commissioner Reed specifically was very excited to see all of that information. So it seemed like they have an appetite for hearing about that stuff if that's something that we want to continue to pursue. So yeah, that's my part on that.
And then the actual mission meeting, I passed this out. These are my scratch notes that I took for that meeting. So the first, basically the bid award for the city of, for this boiler project, which has something to do with the water system. Anyway, they passed the bid to install the boiler, and the bid went to Tri-County Mechanical and Electrical. And then they did mention this fellow Jake, I guess, who the gal from the Chamber of Commerce mentioned, but that he had retired out of the position that he was in. So, and kind of talked about him a little bit. Then they had kind of a public talk. A woman came who started the Montana Women's Triathlon, which happened, I guess, last weekend. So she talked a lot about that, and it was really inspiring, and it's kind of like you had to be there to listen to it. But anyway, she gave quite a bit of a talk about how that went and how it started and where they're at right now. So then they went on to this Colony Citizens Council. I didn't have anything to present to them that night. Then they went on to their regular items. Item A, these are all different bond resolution for the $7 million general obligation bonds. And they kind of went into that a little bit. It's a 20-year maturity. So these bonds mature in 2046. They passed that by zero. They did a exclusive right-of-way permit for Lewis and Clark County to install a backup generator. I guess that was at the Pier View over, I think it's around 9th Street. I'm not sure their exact address. So that they passed that. They needed a right-of-way to get in there and change that boiler. Or generator. Then the next one was about Grand Street, and they granted them another 10-year lease agreement for Grand Street in the agreements with Broadwater Productions. So they did ask about if they have subleases, those are going to carry over, and they were told that if they're subleasing, they're going to have to reapply to continue to sublease from that organization. Let's see. I think that's about it. He had a couple of people from the Grand Street talk about Grand Street, that they're doing a lot of building upgrades. They're running and they run a capital campaign. And they're, continue to have a partnership with the city. And they said they bring in $4 million annually to Helena with their productions. So that's kind of interesting. The next stuff was public hearing. This one was about changing zoning from a R3 to a B2, and that was for this section on Aspen Street and North Oaks. There's a company called Summit Optical, and I guess there's a vacant lot near them that they wanted to change the zoning and they could use it for parking. So they went into that a little bit, and they approved that. Then the rest of it's basically public comment. Several people actually brought up the immigration thing and about the fellow who was arrested or taken by ICE or whatever. And they were questioning and opposing the city's part in this fellow getting picked up by ICE. And so there was quite a few people who talked about that. Then the next one was a neighborhood problem on Boulder Street. There's too much, the traffic they drive too fast in front of that school, Bryant School. Mm-hmm. They've had several recent accidents, and one was very serious. A young girl, 12 or so, got hit by a car driving too fast, and she's badly injured. So there's quite a few residents there who were requesting that the city put up four-way stops on Boulder at the intersections of Roberts and Boulder and Sanders and Boulder to try to slow that traffic down. So, and then the city manager said he would look into it, but made no commitments about what we do. He kind of indicated that they'd probably get those stop signs up there.
Okay. Before we move into board reports, are there any questions on the commission meetings?
I just wanted to.
John,
Nancy's commission report is in the package.
Oh,
Towards the back.
Okay. Thank you, John. All right, we'll move into the board reports. Before we get into general city boards, we'll start with the HCC Ad Hoc Transportation Working Group.
Yes, Chase and Sam and Paige and I met sometime earlier, a couple weeks ago. The charge that we took on ourselves, which is my purpose for the committee, was that each of us would look at the comments that we've gotten at the two open houses in September 24 and March 25, and read chapter 7 in the latest draft of the land use plan, and come together. I think it's Tuesday the 5th, I think August, it's a Tuesday, so whatever that we're going to come together again with our recommendations. We're planning to send our recommendations to Alex the week before, and my intention, my hope is that we will at that meeting agree on which recommendations, if any. If we find that chapter 7 included everything, that's great, but if we have further recommendations, we will forward those then to be on the agenda for the next HCC meeting, to then be forwarded on to the commission.
Okay.
Did I do it all right?
Any questions for the ad hoc committee?
Could you repeat again who's on the committee? You
Yeah,
or Chase?
it's Chase and Sam and Paige and I, and Jeff, you weren't there, are you still,
I'm still in.
you still in? Okay, so anyway, we had a quorum, and it was Chase, Sam, Paige. And may I also do a quick report on the MPO?
Yeah, that's the way.
So I met the MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, the Technical Advisory Committee met on Monday, and they are beginning the public participation phase of the long-range transportation plan. And this is a big deal. The long-range transportation plan is, I think, a major part of our charge in the charter is the development of the city. There's a 45-day starting Monday, so what's that, 2 days ago? For public comment on the public participation plan. That doesn't mean that that's the only time for public participation, but to decide, does this plan include everything that needs to? So I will send the link. I haven't looked at it yet, but I'll send the link to Alex for her to send out, if you'll send that out to everybody, because 45 days is not very much. If you just want to look over the public, I mean, that's what we're all about, is public participation. Does this plan that they are proposing include everything that it should to get enough input from the public?
Is there a possibility that that public comment period can be extended, or is it set?
The public comment period is on the nature of how we're going to go out and do outreach. So I doubt that it'll be extended. I don't think it really needs to be. At least that's my understanding, right? We're just looking and seeing, well, here's what we're going to do to reach out to people. Do you all agree? So I would guess that it probably won't be extended.
Any question on that?
Mr. Chair.
Some more?
Maybe it comes here, maybe it's, and that is HCC participation on that committee. Do you want me to do that now, or just request that it be on the agenda for another meeting, or do you want me to do that later in the?
Let's talk.
Okay.
Any at this time, we'll do general board or committee reports. Does anyone attend a board or committee that they would like to report? John, Andrew?
City County Consolidated Planning Board meeting. The city is now going around doing a abbreviated presentation on the Hill and the land use plan. Michael Alvarez is doing the lead. Household Levine is not involved at this moment. So he did a presentation last week to the city county board, and they're going to have till the end of August to make comments. Then it goes into, they're going to do an open house the middle of September. The Planning Commission is taking the lead on the recommendation, so they'll be the final group that okays the document to send to the city commission. So that should get there sometime this fall. Public comment, I don't know when that'll be closed, but obviously when they're meeting for an open house the middle of September, that might be the only chance for further comment. Helena Citizens Council, our steering committee, our comment period is over as far as the official document, so I don't know about how further comment will be taken.
All right. Any reports? Any questions on anything we just talked about? Diana Hammer.
The County Water Quality Protection District Board had a tour of the mine reclamation of Grizzly Gulch that I mentioned the other day, or the other meeting, but I guess in May. So if you're going up Grizzly Gulch, it's off to the side, a good way up. It's pretty obvious. They reconfigured the creek, and it actually had some water in it in one of our recent.
Any other reports? All right.
I can ask the question why we're not listing these different groups anymore. We always do the standing agenda item always, like just kind of as a reminder. Oh, I need to be prepared with my committee report, or I don't know why that got left off here. I noticed it when the agenda was sent out. I didn't think to mention it during as we were making the agenda, but I'd like to raise it now.
Would that be an issue moving forward? Okay. We'll list those moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. At this point, we'll move into new business, future growth of the city. So we have a recommendation to consider Broadway and Beatty's pedestrian crossing. This was authored by Vice Chair Gobb, so I'll Patty, floor over to you.
Well, actually, this citizen actually was talking to Ryan and, she sent out an email, which is in part of in the recommendation of, a possible pedestrian safety hazard, that's along Broadway as GD Street is crossing it. I met with her and, it has picked up quite a bit since I've stopped walking that street. And so I was kind of surprised how busy Broadway is getting. I was really kind of shocked. And so, I would like to move forward with this recommendation because I think it's a safety issue and, not an operational issue. And I think I don't want someone to get hurt like on Roberts Street. Why does someone have to get hurt before we put something up? So we have the same problem on Montana. No signs were there and someone had to get hurt before we could put signs up. So, anyway, that is, the basis of the recommendation of putting up at least one yellow pedestrian sign as you're driving east, because the biggest problem is if you're driving east and someone's crossing on the southwest corner, you do not know there's a car there until you're on it, until you're already hit. So, it was quite alarming, some of the data that we picked up, and we knocked on the 4 houses' doors, and, she doesn't even live on Broadway. She just likes to use, she would like to use a crosswalk. Her closest crosswalk is either at Jefferson or she has to go all the way. It's a mile in between both crosswalks. So this would be the halfway point. So anyway, any questions?
All right, we'll start with Bob Haddock.
So good research and being responsive to your constituents. Here's just information for the group for years of doing things like this with the city. So it's background. So you look at the facility, the road, it's a federal aid urban funded road. So the feds have their fingers in it. Sometimes money changes how you do signage and manipulate it, speed bumps, right of ways, boulevards. And then oftentimes with safety projects, they look for warrants, like the number of injuries, the number of accidents. There's something that justifies beyond anecdotal evidence to then justify taking an action. And then there's this manual of uniform traffic control devices, the MUTCD, which is the Bible of how you sign facilities. So it's more complicated than say, please put a crosswalk and directing them to put a sign specific ways. Rather, I'm just simply suggesting, because I support these and I've done enough of these, is starting them, recommending them to get into the process of researching the warrants and researching the average daily traffic, the vehicle miles traveled. And one thing is huge, Sandra, as you would agree, Beatty Street Trailhead is a new source of crossing movements. Not only Clinton Park, but oh my God, in the last 3 years, there is another justification and rationale for why crossing movements at that intersection is warranted in that respect. So I'm not making changes to our motion or anything. And Chase, you're an engineer, I think you probably know this. Asking the city commission to direct the city street guy, who's a really nice guy, to start taking the steps to research this intersection. Remember the Broadway thing, I think Nancy, you had with the drainage?
Mhm.
That's operational, but we went into a process to study it and to do something. And the other example we have was with the weed spraying, directing the parks director to research toxics and signing. That worked really well when we partnered and kind of suggested, please start studying and keeping us in the loop. So I support this, but I want it to be strong and on the heels of Burton not putting stuff on the agenda because it's too detailed. Please put a sign on the, it's like, please, City Commission, direct the city street guy to look at this intersection for the possibility of a pedestrian crossing that's very well wanted. Okay, so that's my perspective of strategy. End of comment.
All right, and House Rep.
No, Bob said it well, so.
John Andrew.
I think I would have started with either directing the woman or you taking the step to contact Mark Young, the traffic engineer, and just opening up some dialogue with him and getting his perspective and even, meeting with him at the intersection, and he can go through, the city's involvement, and if there's other stakeholders like MDT involved too.
That exhausts my speakers list. Any further questions or comments?
I have a question.
Katie, Ryan?
Because, that meeting that I went to, and there's, citizens who lived in that neighborhood on Boulder that's having this traffic speeding problem and several accidents occurring in pretty close proximity. How does their issues get addressed when the city manager just says, something like, we'll look into it? He doesn't really give any information like how the process actually works, which would be nice to know. So I guess I just have a question. How does that work when the citizens?
If I may, then the traffic department, street maintenance, there is a very nice handout on traffic calming. And that's been around for a long time. How does a neighborhood suggest or get traffic calming? Speed bumps or whatever the appropriate stuff is. And I've been through 2 very lengthy processes where at the very end of 8 and 10 months, it crashed because nobody wanted to pay for it. It would be paid through an SID, Special Improvement District, and nobody wanted to pay. So it's a very long, lengthy facility, but the city has a very nice traffic calming design guide and process. I can't remember if it's still on the website, but there was one that spoke to how one goes about it. And just like what John's saying, it starts with these nice conversations with city staff to do information gathering and fact finding. And I think that's the best place to start. And that's where, Katie, if some neighbor came to you and said, I'm concerned about my traffic, our job is to get them information to help themselves most of the time, right? I can't do everyone's work for them.
Right.
And that's why I've learned the hard way. I take people's burdens on and then we get disappointed when it doesn't come through. So our job is let us help you. Here's a name. Here's some suggestions.
Right.
And let them start the process. Typically it kind of fails, but there's a point where we want to enable the residents to help themselves and we can help guide them, is my best experience.
I guess my feeling is in that meeting, the citizens brought their issue up and presented what they thought would calm the traffic down. But how is that gonna get followed through? How are they gonna, do they need to do more? Or do we just drop the ball there and wait 8 months for
Public property, you have to champion or look for groups.
Yeah.
And you have to be savvy.
Yeah.
I'm being a normal citizen because this is a legal, very regulatory process. If you're not savvy, it's very disheartening.
Yeah.
So finding people who can champion, know the system lightly and appropriately.
Okay.
Yeah.
Curious how
Further questions or comments? And how?
Sonda, I'm really glad that you followed up on this with her, and I am learning, like Bob and John said, that things take a long time here, but we saw how Nancy was able, I think, to make some real progress. So I appreciate you helping her out in trying to figure out how this works.
Yeah. I think rewording it or researching a warrant, the government language is not my forte yet. Maybe never will be, but I think the hardest part is they want us to be direct and they want us to be precise, but then they don't want us to tell them anything to what they want. So I don't understand, and it doesn't make sense to me. So I'm just like, okay. So I guess I really don't know where. I mean, there's a move forwarding. But then there's this weird little thing that we can't contact transportation unless Ben takes it to them. Is that correct? So we've gotten to a relationship. We're no longer in a relationship with the directors. And we're no longer allowed to be on their boards. And so we have a really hard time creating something and knowing that knowledge, which could have been a board issue. So how do we go forward with this? I don't know, answering their. So anyway, I don't know what to say after that.
No, I think that's a very valid concern. That's something that I brought forth to the manager and the mayor. If we want specific recommendations, it's very hard to draw that line when we don't know where the line is, what is acceptable and what isn't. And sometimes if they feel like a recommendation came out of left field, that generally happens because we feel we don't have the ability to communicate with staff effectively. And those are things that I want to be discussed when we all sit down. I don't know if we're going to resolve this anytime soon, but I get what you're saying. Go ahead, Diana.
So I think we've heard confusing things from the city. In past conversations about different recommendations we've been told by the city, specifically with the pesticide spraying, they wish that we had talked to Parks before we sent the recommendation, but then we were told by the city manager, you shouldn't talk to Parks. But then when I was working on the Grand Canyon, I said, well, I would like to talk with you, Parks Director, Planning Director, but we've been told we can't. And they were like, you can always talk to us. So I don't know. I think I would rather err on the side of having that conversation and keeping it low and simple, and then finding out how do we write a good recommendation? Because there's a safety concern at Roberts and Boulder and at Beatty and Broadway. So how do we address our constituents' safety concerns in these two important places before something happens like at the Capitol? I mean, how do we be proactive? So I think we should call and just say, hey, this has come up. How should we work on this? Like Nancy did on the Broadway storm drains.
Everybody loves Nancy though, so.
Lori Fitzgerald.
Or people feeling unsafe under the tunnel, but that's not appropriate. I would hate to have this go forward and then be squelched again. If we're trying to do the right things, we need to know how to do it. We want to make sure we know how they want these so that they will take them and take them to the commission and get it on the agenda.
And Councilor.
So something, if you're comfortable, I think following up on again what John said is to call Mark Young and say, this issue has been brought to my attention. There's a safety concern here. How can we proceed? And just ask. Commissioner Logan told me that and I assume that means any of us then, can contact staff. Right? He said that. So I'm taking him at his word. So
I think it's. Now that I know what else we could put into it, I think tabling it until next month so this researching can happen might be our best move. So if that makes sense.
For this and future related issues, when a constituent calls, how do we direct them? And I support all of you. I'm a taxpayer. I'll take my HCC hat off and I'll call anybody. We have that right. But I don't have the right to assign work or to demand work. Now, there was a distinction some years ago of Citizens Council putting work on city staff. And I kind of see we're burdened on those guys. Say, no, you can't do that. But we can fact find and we can ask questions, direct us to the website. Please talk to this constituent. That is absolutely fair game. And I think they see that. So, but there is boundaries, right? As long as we don't make assignments. But I think Sandra, tabling this and researching how we go about appropriately pursuing
more
a
emails
constituent
out there.
concern.
Yeah. I agree. Okay, thank
All
you.
right. Any further comments or motions?
Just general.
Generally, yeah.
Um. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I don't know if it's something that's, if we can discuss or get done, but,
Oh, sorry, I thought
With-
you meant
with
generally on
this?
this motion. Yeah, on this motion, we'll address that soon. If there is a desire to table, we would need a motion for that.
I would, I would,
Second.
okay, well, let me say it. I would move that we table this motion so that Sonda can do some more fact finding and gather information and we reconsider it on the agenda for the.
Second.
Okay, there is a motion by Diana Hammer, second by Ann Houserath to table this recommendation for and see it in August meeting. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote on this. Thank you. Any public comment on that? Okay. We will move into a roll call vote.
Welcome to table, with intent to bring it back to the next agenda. John Andrew.
Aye.
Diana Hammer,
Aye.
Lauren Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Nancy Perry,
Aye.
Ann Houserath.
Aye.
Sonda Cobb,
Aye.
Jeff Brown.
Aye.
Chase Eaton. Aye. Lynn Kuiper,
Aye.
Katie Ryan,
Aye.
Bob Haybeck.
Aye.
Denise Roth Barber,
Aye.
Susan Stephens,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you for the discussion. All right, at this time, I'll open the floor for anything for the good of the order.
If I, as a new member, don't really know everything that we do and how to go about everything, but I've been thinking about an issue that I see specifically at the schools, where people there to pick up kids are vehicles, and since almost everyone drives a diesel truck that's listed right now, it all is like at my kids' heads levels, and it's just a constant thing that's been worrying me for a long time. And I wanted to maybe find out what the council thought about what could be done or what our role is in that kind of a situation.
Is there anybody who has context on that can discuss outside?
The central school, should we raise it or not raise it? If you were around for that discussion.
Yeah.
And it ended up that because the city commission didn't have a role in that, that wouldn't have been appropriate for us to make a recommendation about how central school was handled. Goes to these authorities and relationships. So going back to the school and the school board and their authorities, I don't think we have a role. It's a different forum, so I'm just spitballing now. I want to say Fort Georgians, because they have that big loop, do not idle, turn your car off, or maybe thinking of,
I'm thinking Broadwater where my kids go.
somewhat I'm thinking of precedent for signs that say no idling zone, shut your car off.
Yeah,
So that'd be a school district, school board query as a concerned dad through that school district. I don't think the citizens council through the commission, because that's our one avenue, can then get back to school district.
Diane Hammer.
I agree. It's a real concern. It's right in their breathing. So I used to work on children's environmental health issues, and this was an issue that we would work with schools. But I think maybe reaching out to the individual schools, maybe we could. I mean, I'd be happy to actually help you with this if you like. But this building has a no idling sign out back, I believe. So
DEQ had signs, we have those out all the
so
time.
this is a thing that people
It
do,
is a
so would be a pretty simple request if those signs exist, people.
and so you would say like speaking to individual principals and having them talk to their school district.
Or maybe just raise it with the principal and maybe they have the power to just do it themselves.
Okay.
But it'd be nice to see it broad done across the community, but I agree with Bob that that's not something
That'd
that
be super
we
tempting.
could weigh in on.
Okay, so if we can have this conversation outside the meeting, and come back with anything that the HCC could, consider. Any further member communications?
Yeah, I agree totally. It happens at Helen in middle of school when I'm waiting for my granddaughter. I get gassed out. The city of Boise actually has signs that can be put
For
up.
the citywide,
That can be put up anywhere. My church put one up. And so other cities do take this on as an air quality, health issue. So maybe we can all kind of find some information for next, but thank you for bringing it up because it's bothered me and it isn't just there. I mean, people idle all the time and it isn't just when it's hot or when it's cold, they're idling in the spring and the fall when there's no reason to.
John Andrew.
So I saw a presentation a month or so ago about New York City with an ordinance leading to fines for people that are idling, with actually giving citizens the right to photo their license plate and collect a percentage of the fee. So it's kind of, it's,
interesting.
yeah, I mean,
Whatever
one
the
guy,
process.
one guy was saying he gets out on his bike for 8 hours a day and he's getting $40,000 a year.
Okay, we're gonna move on from this. Is there anything else you wanna bring forward?
Ben, can I'm done.
I think that's a great idea, but it could be a greater policy discussion as we're talking about the differences between operational recommendations and policy recommendations. If you were to bring something along the lines of no idling in a school zone that is designated by the city, I'm not exactly sure how those are set up, but that's a policy level, right? Additionally, like, when I just lost my train of thought, but that's a good example, like I said, of operational versus policy. So operational, like you're not asking city staff to go out and do something, you're asking the commission to consider this greater idea for the future of the city. And it encompasses the whole city rather than this one particular thing. Does that make sense? Also, this could be a great thing to take to, like, as during the public comment period, to the Citizens Conservation Board, because that is what they do.
Okay, any further comments? All right, at this point, I will open the floor for public comment. Is there any public comment on anything under our jurisdiction? Seeing none, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm Angus Manship. So the open house on the land use plan that the city is planning to do, are they asking us to do an open house too? Or are they expecting that we will, or are we planning to do an open house in September?
That conversation is gonna be had soon. Sorry, I'm a little behind on that, but we're in communications to hopefully figure that out soon.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else before we adjourn? All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.